Check, check, 1, 2. Hey, check, 1, 2. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for getting ready to sit in our meditation practice later, but we're going to move through our physical practice now. And I thought I would bring in, so we've done so far protraction, retraction, elevation of the scapula, and we've of course learned how to depress the shoulder blades in reaction or in opposition of shoulder blades up. So the thing with the physical body, everything exists in equal and opposite actions. Essentially, if your shoulder blades can go up, then your shoulder blades can go down. And I guess fair enough, everything in life exists in equals and opposites. If we look at just everything, the way that the intellect understands the world is through opposition. So the intellect is a part of our mind, and the yogis call the intellect the buddhi. Okay, so we've got this part of our mind, the intellect, that understands everything in opposition, and we see it everywhere. So if the shoulder blades can protract, the shoulder blades can retract. If the shoulder blades can elevate, they can depress. Today, we're going to work a little bit on depression. I will be honest, depression, we've got to get creative in the yoga practice in order to do this. We can certainly pull our shoulders down away from our ears. That's one way of doing it, and we will do that throughout the class. But if you really want to develop the strength of what would be the lower fibers of your trapezius muscles, you're going to really have to do pull-ups, okay? And that's something that a lot of people, or you're going to have to go out and climb, okay? That's what the depression of the scapula comes from, that pulling action. When the arms are above, pulling back down, that's where depression of the scapula can come from. If we want to increase strength of that motion, that is, then we have to apply resistance. There are things we could do in a yoga room, but it's not necessarily conducive at home, and I'd have to develop a whole system of props, and I don't know that everybody watching has that. So I'm just going to try to give you some ways of isometrically activating depression of the scapula, and one key posture that's going to help us do that. Okay, so that said, whenever the arms are up overhead, the shoulders arguably should be up in order to avoid shoulder impingement. But whenever the arms go down, like as in a pull-up, when you start going down, the arm bone here, at this point, you can start pulling them down away from your ears, and that's going to create stability in the shoulder girdle. Okay, so strength of depression of the scapula is great for arm balances. It's great for postures like chaturanga, plank poses, and we'll get into those. Also, there's one main thing that I want to be specific on. Moving the scapula down is not the same as depressing the humerus in the glenohumeral joint. So a lot of times people will feel pain when doing things like Warrior Two, pulling the shoulder blades down, because instead of pulling the shoulder blades down, they're actually pressing the head of the arm bone down, which will cause a little pain at the top. If you feel that, that means you're not moving your shoulder blades, you're moving the arm bone, which is totally possible. You can move the arm bone in the shoulder socket down, and that could cause a little pinch. So you're going to work on moving your shoulder blades down. Now, the key thing about moving your shoulder blades instead of your arm bone is you have to actually think from your back body. One way of doing that is actually moving your shoulders to the back, then pulling your shoulder blades down. So we'll retract the scapula, then pull them down in order to really focus on the lower fibers of the trapezius, pulling the shoulder blades down. So this is the fourth main action of the shoulder, I guess you would call it the scapulocostal joint, the shoulder blades as they float on the rib cage in the back there. So philosophically, we're moving towards a meditation today, and we kicked off the first session, which was also a meditation, on the idea of fullness. And in this tradition of tantric philosophy, non-dual tantra, that means that duality, there is no good and bad in the universe itself. It's just the universe. It is consciousness. The way the buddhi, the intellect, sees the world is through opposition. So we create that sort of dichotomy for ourselves in order to understand and comprehend what is otherwise this massive energy that is incomprehensible by our human mind, right? So we distill things down into black and white, right and wrong, and good and bad. And the energy that pulses through all things is a constant. That's it, period. So tantric philosophy, it embraces the dichotomies and the equals and opposites to help the intellect understand this otherwise incomprehensible energy that we call consciousness, the oneness of the universe. Whenever I say things like that, the intellect struggles because one is very hard for the intellect to comprehend, that this entire manifest world can be from one thing. So even at the very highest, Tantra splits consciousness into two forms called Shiva and Shakti, the divine masculine, divine feminine, not male and female, just divine masculine and feminine, saying like yin and yang, the same idea that we have these two powers or two energies that is consciousness itself. And consciousness is the existence of both of those energies as one. So just like that, we also have fullness and emptiness as a teaching of Tantra. Why we started with Purnata, which was the fullness. Shunyata is the emptiness. So there's always a balance to help the buddhi, the intellect, understand what is the totality. So the best way I can explain this is if we think of a storm, the swirling energy of a storm that is flailing around, that is the fullness. There's so much, there's chaos, there's commotion, there's movement, there's momentum. That is the fullness. Now, the fullness of that storm cannot exist without the center that we call the eye of the storm. At the eye of the storm, there's emptiness, there's nothing, stillness. So while the buddhi, the intellect, can say there are two parts of the storm. There is the swirling energy, and then there's the eye of the storm. We can say that because we have an intellect that divides things. The storm doesn't exist without, there's no just an eye, and there's no just a storm. In order for the storm to exist, you have to have the eye and the swirling energy around it. Those two things go hand in hand together. So that is the same at the level of consciousness, that Shiva and Shakti, though they are the divine masculine and feminine, they are the emptiness and the fullness. They are the unmanifest potential and the fully manifested, that's the word, I guess, fully manifested energy. The two sides exist as one, as a constant, but we can't understand that. So we divide things in half philosophically to help the intellect get on board with this. Okay, so today it's about emptiness. Now, the word emptiness, the first time I heard that, I felt empty, because who was listening was my ego, the identity part of me that was, when you think about it, the ego is constantly looking for fulfillment, but fulfillment in not so much in the heart. It's always looking for fulfillment to identify, and what does this have to do with me is the constant question of the ego, the ahamkara. Okay, so the ahamkara, which is the part of the mind that is constantly trying to form an identity, is constantly feeling like it is not enough. So the ego is grasping to fill itself and say, I'm good enough, I'm good enough, I'm good enough, I'm good enough. But it fundamentally will never be full. The ego is constantly separating, it's forming separation and forming identity. And so it is constantly trying to prove its identity as a small human being. And then it even makes our roles even smaller. I am a yoga teacher. I am a parent. I am a child. It makes the roles even smaller. I am short. I am tall. I am pretty. I am ugly. It makes the roles even smaller. It keeps identifying smaller and smaller and smaller. And then it tries to look for evidence to prove itself correct, that its identity that it's created is correct. And it's never fulfilled because the identity is essentially false. While we do have identity as a human being, if the ego is not identified as the fullness of consciousness, then it's always going to feel unfulfilled. If it's not identified with the universe itself, for example, if we forget as human beings that we are actually formed by nature, which we know intellectually, scientifically, that nature created humans, but we forget that and we're unidentified with it. And so as a result, the ego is always going to feel unfulfilled. So it's going to keep trying to make itself small, and then it's going to try to prove itself right. That's the nature of the ego. It helps us on some level to exist as individuals. It's our uniqueness. So there, on the highest level, it's our self-expression of the bigger energy that is pulsing through all things. It allows us to be a uniquely expressed individual within a totality of a whole energy. But if we forget that we're part of that whole, then that's essentially the emptiness of the ego. Now, when we talk about the ego, it's a unfulfilled emptiness, that it's a feeling of lack, okay? But when we talk about emptiness from the concept of Shiva Shakti, we're talking about stillness. The emptiness that is without chaos. Of course, chaos surrounds the emptiness, but emptiness, think about letting go of something that doesn't serve you, emptying it out. It's like the digestive tract. Like, imagine just eating and never emptying out what we ate. We would feel full in a negative way, right? We would explode eventually. So emptiness is a necessary part of our process as a human of being a part of consciousness. But if we don't embrace it, then we become too full with nothing that is actually serving us. We need that digestive tract to get rid of what is not needed so we can bring in what is needed. And that exists on every part of our being. So fullness is excellent, right? That's the other side of the equation, because it allows us to feel fulfilled by the universe itself. But emptiness is an equal and opposite necessary piece of the puzzle, that we need to let go of what's not necessary. We need to get back to the foundation, the nothingness, the emptiness, the stillness, the serenity deep within us. And so that's our focus today. We're going towards the emptiness in our meditation practice. And again, depression of the scapula. So let's get into it. We get into wide-kneed child's pose, and we'll start with, actually go knees together, sorry. And what you'll do is you'll have your palms face up, forehead onto the ground or the block. And let's first connect to the breath. We recognize that our inhales are the fullness, and the exhales allow us the emptiness. That both inhales and the fullness of the inhale and the emptiness of the exhale are completely necessary for this human experience to occur. So while the ego is constantly unsatisfied and trying to fill itself, the heart at our core is always full, always empty at the same time. And that is very hard for the intellect to jump on board with. How do we have both emptiness and fullness at the same time? Just remember the eye of the storm. Storm cannot exist without the eye.
They're present at the same time. So let's get connected to our shoulders. Lift the shoulders up away from the ground. Even if you have to move your hands, just try to get your shoulders up away from the ground and get your shoulder blades toward each other. Okay, so retract your shoulder blades. Let's take 3 breaths. Inhale, keeping the shoulders up. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. One more time. Inhale, shoulders up away from the ground. That's retraction of the scapula. And exhale. All right, bring the hands out in front. Take the knees wide. And with the arms out in front, get your shoulders up towards the ears. So elevate the scapula by walking your hands further away from your torso. Once you feel your shoulders close to your ears, I'd like you to lift your armpits up. So retract the scapula. And then pull the yoga mat towards you. So pull with your hands. Of course, nothing moves because you're going to grip the ground with your fingers and pull the yoga mat towards you. If you can imagine, if you were on like a slippery surface with your knees, perhaps a blanket on a wood floor, you would start to pull yourself forward. So we're trying to activate these muscles called the latissimus dorsi and the muscles that would depress the shoulder blades, the bottom fibers of the trapezius muscle. Now, the muscle we worked the other day when we tried to elevate the shoulder blades up towards the ears was the upper fibers of the trapezius muscle, which is pretty cool. The same muscle can do the opposite action. So that's a cool muscle to think about when we're talking about Shiva Shakti, or the energy of the universe existing in dichotomies, that the same muscle can do opposing things. Okay, come forward to all fours, hands and knees, arch the back, look up. Exhale, round and look at your navel. Inhale, arch, look up. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch, look up. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch, look up. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch, look up. This time as you exhale, come to down dog. Hips up and back. Bend each knee, maybe wag the tail side to side, awaken the sides of the body. Shift forward into plank pose, grip your fingers into the ground, activate the forearm muscles. Now, first step, push the ground away so your shoulder blades move apart from each other. Then rotate your arms like you're dialing outwards so the biceps face forward. And when you do that, well, that's an action at the rotator cuff. You can also start to depress your scapula, your shoulder blades down towards your buttocks, but still push the ground away, okay? Take an inhale, look forward, heart forward a little bit. Exhale, knees down, child's pose. Come forward to all fours on the next in-breath. And let's do that here on all fours. It'll be a little bit easier for us, okay? So hands slightly turned out. I would say index finger facing straight forward. Grip the fingers into the ground. Separate the shoulder blades away from one another. Now, externally rotate the arms so the biceps face forward. And then start to take the outer shoulder blade here down towards your buttocks. Now, what's going to happen is you're probably going to lean back a little bit away from your hands when you do that. I do, for sure. So push, rotate, and depress the scapula. So now lean forward with all of that. And you should feel quite strong in the shoulder girdle from that action. Push the ground away a little bit more. Take a full breath in. Stick your buttocks to the sky and come to downward facing dog. Let's take the right leg to the sky on the in-breath. Exhale, step right foot forward. Come up onto your fingertips. Fingers face out slightly. Pull your feet toward each other. Get light in the legs. Get light in the hips, that is, sorry. Round the back. Let's take a breath, lengthen through the top of the head. Exhale it out. Press down into your feet, rise up, hands to the hips. Okay, let's bring the shoulders up on the inhale, so elevate the scapula. And on the exhale, retract your shoulder blades. So the shoulders are now in the back side of the body. So one of the things about the shoulders, they tend to be forward and down, and that makes it hard to access these muscles, the lower fibers of the trapezius. So first thing we do is go up, back, then down, and that gets the scapula down the back. Okay, keeping the scapula down the back, see if you can let your hands come off of your hips. Okay, so you're gonna go shoulder blades together and down the back, but keep the hands back. So you're still in what's called extension at the glenohumeral joint at the shoulder. Okay, try to keep the shoulder blades down the back, lift the gaze up, take a full breath in. Exhale, release the hands down to the ground. Push the ground away, inhale, plank pose. Rotate the arm bones externally, so biceps forward, and pull the shoulder blades down the back. One thing you can do is move your heart and head forward while shoulders go down towards your butt. Place the knees down, release, child's pose. Inhale forward and arch the back, tuck the toes. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now in down dog, just as a reminder, biomechanics, we want to keep the shoulders towards the ears. So in down dog, try not to pull the shoulders away from the ears. That might injure the shoulder. So we push the ground away, move the hips up and back. Let's take one more breath. Left side, up to the sky on the inhale. Step forward. Come up on your fingertips. When we get settled in, connect to the breath that flows through us. Pull the energy from the ground into the hips. So pull your feet toward each other and press down through the heel. Keep pressing down through the heel, rise up, hands to the hips. Let's connect to the shoulders again. So the actions today, shoulders go up, elevate, and then back. Once they're back, draw the shoulder blades down your back. Okay, now bring the throat back, the ears back, and see if you can let go of your hips without moving your hands very much. Okay, so just using the shoulders to pull the shoulder blades down the back. Let's do a few breaths. 2 more breaths. One more breath. And release, hands to the ground. Plank pose. Again, your index finger faces straight forward. Rotate the arms forward. Take a full breath in. Place the knees down and lower all the way to the ground. All right, so slide the hands wide. Come on your fingertips. First thing we do is we round the back on the inhale. And now try to roll your shoulders back behind your chest. This is where you can move your shoulder blades down the back. Okay, so the elbows kind of wing backwards or go backwards, sorry. And the shoulder blades go down the back. Depressing the scapula will help you form the arch in your back bend. Okay, pull the heart forward, take a full breath in. And release. Let's take another breath in, round the back. Exhale, soften heart forward, shoulders back, and move your shoulder blades not fully down your back so that you feel any sort of pressure in your low back, but down away from your ears and pull your heart forward. That will increase the back bend by pulling the shoulder blades down. Okay, and release. And let's hold here for a full breath in. And out. And we're going to do one final round. Okay, here we go. Round the back. Exhale, shoulders back and down, heart goes forward. Hold the throat and head up to the sky.
Exhale and release. All fours, hands and knees. Exhale back into downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Let's take a full breath in. And a full breath out. 2 more. Lift the heels up on the inhale, look forward. Walk lightly to the front of the yoga mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and bow. Interlace the hands behind the back. First, let your shoulders fall towards your ears. This will give you more range of motion as you reach the arms back behind you. Now, if you've got enough range of motion, you've got a little bit of flexibility going here, then you can start to move the shoulder blades up towards your buttocks, up away from the ground that is, down your back, however you want to look at it. But try to keep the hands reaching while the shoulder blades depress down your back. One more breath. Inhale, reach the arms to the sun, Urdhva Hastasana. Hands to the heart, Samastiti. Okay, like we did the other day, you're going to take your arms down to the sides, Tadasana, palms face out. Shoulders go up slightly, then back. Then pull the thumb side of your hand, specifically the thumb side of your hand, towards the ground, and that will help you to depress your scapula, your shoulder blades, down away from the ears. And then rotate the pinky side of your arm all the way here, outward. Okay, so turn your palms outward all the way from the shoulder. As you're turning your arms outward, pull your shoulder blades down the back, and lift up through the back of your skull. Full breath in, this powerful Tadasana in your shoulders. Full breath out. Keep rotating the arms and pulling the shoulder blades down. Inhale, reach the arms up. Shoulders up. Exhale, bow. Uttanasana, forward fold. Halfway lift, inhale. Step left foot back as you exhale. Rise, high lunge, inhale. Hands to the sky. Shoulders up to the ears. Exhale, hands to the ground. Plank pose, inhale. Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, fingertips round the back. Soften, heart goes forward, shoulders go back. Inhale, heart forward and up, shoulders down a little bit. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees. Tuck your toes, exhale, downward facing up. 3 breaths, connecting to the fullness on the inhale and the magnificent emptiness on the exhale. So emptiness is required as part of nature. It's synonymous with letting go. It's synonymous with stillness within. Calm, serenity. Lift the heels up on the next breath in. Empty the breath out. Hop or step lightly to the front. Half lift on the inhale. Exhale and bow. Inhale, rise to the sun. Hands to the heart, Samastiti. Inhale, rise. To the earth, bow, Uttanasana. Half lift, inhale. Right foot steps back as you exhale. High lunge, inhale, rise all the way up. Shoulders up here. Exhale, hands to the ground. Plank pose, inhale. Exhale, Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, fingertips round the back. Exhale, soften, heart forward, shoulders go down. Pull the chest through the shoulders, lift up. As the heart goes up, the shoulders stay down. And release. Shoulder blades, I mean, not shoulders. Inhale, all fours, hands and knees. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Observing the emptiness at the bottom of the exhale. And then allowing for that to give way for the fullness as you inhale. Observing the nothingness at the top of the inhale, and then exhaling, emptying out the emptiness at the bottom, and then filling up the nothingness at the top, and then exhaling it out. Lift the heels up, look forward. Empty the breath out. Hop or step. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, bow. To the sunrise, inhale. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Samastitihi. Inhale, rise up. To the earth, bow, Uttanasana. Halfway lift, inhale. Step both feet or hop, Chaturanga. Slide hands wide, fingertips round. Exhale, soften, chest goes forward, shoulders go back. Then draw the shoulder blades down and lift the heart up. Exhale, release. All fours, inhale. Exhale, down dog. Shoulders are up to the ears in down dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward as you exhale. Rise, high lunge, inhale. Open warrior 2 as you exhale and pause. All right, so this is a little bit tricky, but I'd like you to think about underneath the armpit here, lifting. So the head of the arm bone, where the arm bone meets the shoulder socket, is actually up slightly. Then keeping that, move your shoulder head back. That will retract the scapula. So up a little under the armpits, back, and now without losing the lift in the shoulder socket here, like as if you're pressing down into a shelf with your hands, I'd like you to now move your shoulder blades down the back. And why that's hard is those are 2 different joints, but they're connected. So when your shoulder blades go down, you'll want to press your head of your arm bone down. Don't do that. Keep your palms pushing down into the imaginary shelf and move your shoulder blades down, but armpits stay lifted. And that right now might seem conceptual, but it's technically possible in your physical body that your arm bones stay lifted. So the best way I can tell you is push down into your imaginary shelf, but move your shoulder blades down. And when your shoulder blades go down, that's the trapezius, the bottom fibers of your trapezius. Okay, keeping that, gaze over the front hand. With our breath, we try to observe the fullness and the emptiness in perfect working harmony with one another. One allows the other one to happen. They must exist for life to exist. Purnata is fullness, Shunyata is emptiness. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, hands to the ground. Come to plank pose, inhale. And lower chaturanga. All right, let's start to learn how to do upward facing dog, which is a big shoulder blade depressor. Moves the shoulder blades down the back. So first we do cobra pose in a different way. So palms fully on the ground and a little bit back behind you. Roll your shoulders forward to the ears, then up. So your scapula retract. Then use your back muscles to lift your heart up and then try to move your shoulder blades down your back. You see how I have bent elbows right now? So I don't, otherwise if I push my elbows straight right now, then I press all the pressure into the low back. So I soften the chest in front of the shoulders, and the shoulders try to move down while the heart presses forward. Don't try to knit your ribs or anything. Let the chest go forward. Okay, and then release. That's the foundation for upward dog. And if that's really intense on your back, then full upward dog might not be the best bet for you today. And you can stick with
the initial cobra that we've done. Okay, so all these low cobras, the cobra postures, the up dogs, they're quite intense on the up back when you do them properly because they create spinal extension. And it's awesome once you have that mobility, but in the process, it can be a little bit jarring on the back. So we want to go slow, coax the body to open up over time rather than wrenching it into an openness. Okay, take your hands to the ground, come to all fours. Exhale in a downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Left leg to the sky on the inhale. Step forward. Rise, high lunge. Open up, warrior two. Again, imaginary shelf, press your hands down and lift your armpits up. Now move your shoulders back slightly and move your shoulder blades down your back, but thinking about the armpit still lifting underneath, as if there's like just something lifting the armpit under here, and you're still trying to pull your shoulder blades down while the arm bone pops up. Okay, keeping that. Then gaze over your front hand. Now what I like you to focus on is the space between the breaths. And that's where the real emptiness exists, when there is nothing, there is no movement. So as you inhale, there's movement, but at the top, there's a moment where you can linger, where nothing happens. And then as you exhale, there's movement. And at the bottom, there's a moment of lingering that you can focus on. That's the emptiness, shunyata. And then the inhale. There's a fullness, but hold gently, and then exhale. And now it's not a clenching of the breath of the throat muscles or the jaw muscles. It's more just not inhaling and not exhaling, just allowing the breath to linger. Okay, that's a pranayama that we'll be using in our meditation. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, hands to the ground. Forward, plank pose, inhale. Chaturanga. Slide the hands back for cobra. Inhale, lift the heart. Shoulders down, heart forward and up. And then release. Okay, so full upward dog. Let's come to all fours and show you a way of getting into upward dog that I find is fairly accessible. Now, a lot of you might be like, why are we spending so much time on upward dog? I do it all the time. The thing is, most people, when they do upward dog, they're actually doing plank pose with the hips sagged, like something like this. Okay, this is plank pose without abdominal activation, but it doesn't necessarily give you access, one, to your shoulder girdle or your spine. So it tends to be hyperactive in the pec minor, and the shoulders are pulling down and forward, and it doesn't actually increase your spinal extension. So you will be doing postures like up dog over and over and over again, but you don't actually increase your flexibility of your back. Now, I don't know if there's anything wrong with that necessarily, except that it won't actually create more mobility. So doing upward dog properly will increase your flexibility. And so back bends will become easier over time if you do it this way. So what I would say is you want your chest in front of your shoulders. So that requires retracting the scapula. And then you want your heart to pull forward. So that's why hands turned out is way more accessible. And then the final step to up dog is actually depressing the scapula down the back. That's the major step of up dog, is to move your shoulder blades. So here's cobra basically. Here's up dog. So can you see the difference? Shoulder blades down the back, not shoulders down the front, which is like that awkward, when your shoulders go down the front, it's like an awkward plank. When your shoulders go down the back, your heart presses forward and up, and that's gonna give you that mobility. Now, if this is too intense, again, just keep your pelvis on the ground, do the other cobras, and your back will open up and it will gain range of motion with that original cobra that I showed you, that gecko version. Okay, but you can really learn to activate your lower fibers of your trapezius in upward dog, bringing the shoulders up and down, kind of flossing through these two movements. My hands are very turned out and wide in order to access the shoulder girdle here. All right, coming on out. Hopefully you can see the, let's sit up for a second so you can kind of mimic it. Move your chest forward and up, so your belly should kind of lift, your rib cage should poke out like so, and your shoulders are back here. Now, imagine you're doing up dog. You go shoulders up for a second. That would mean your hips would go down. Then push down, shoulder blades go down. Your heart should rise up, and that's going to be upward dog. Okay, and then lift them up, and then push down, heart forward and up. Now, when you push down, don't let the shoulders roll forward. Keep them back behind you. Okay. In this case, we're doing a back bend on purpose in upward facing dog. Sometimes you would not want a back bend. You'd want your core activated and you still want to depress. But for right now, we're intentionally trying to create that back bend. All right, come back to downward facing dog. So up dog is one of those rare poses in the yoga practice that can, if done in that way, strengthen the lower fibers of the trapezius. Now, most people use their pec minor, as I mentioned, their pectoral muscles to do upward dog, and they miss the trapezius altogether. They miss the depression of the scapula altogether. And so as a result, that muscle doesn't actually get any further activity. But the magnificent part of having up dog in the yoga practice is just that we have the opportunity to activate the lower fibers of the trapezius, which otherwise are not active in most yoga postures. So it would make sense that we would really work on that depression of the scapula in up dog in order to balance out how many down dogs we do, which should be elevation of the scapula. Lift the heels up, look forward. Empty the breath, hop or step. Half lift, inhale. Exhale and bow. To the sun, rise. Urdhva Hastasana. To the heart, exhale. Bend the knees, sit back, push the heels out, roll the shoulders back, lift the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. And let's get our postural muscles. We'll take a departure from the shoulders for a moment. Think about our meditation that's coming up. Push the heels outward, isometrically lift the heart up. And pay attention to the lingering between the breaths. So at the end of the exhale, just linger for a moment without inhaling. And then inhale. Top of the inhale, linger for a moment without exhaling. Then exhale. Linger for a moment. Then inhale. Linger. And bow as you exhale. Halfway lift on the inhale. Step or hop chaturanga. We're moving to up dog, so soften. Shoulders go back. Shoulder blades move down. Heart lifts forward and up. And then back to down dog. Let's take the right leg to the sky. Inhale. Step forward. Push down, rise, high lunge. Open warrior two. Reverse warrior, inhale. Chaturanga Dandasana as you exhale. Cobra or up dog. Exhale, down dog. Left leg to the sky. Exhale, step forward. Rise, high lunge. Open warrior two. Reverse warrior. Exhale, chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Shoulder blades down, heart up. Exhale, down dog. 3 breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Now in your down dog, that little lift of the arm bone that I was talking about in warrior two, you could do that right here in down dog. You might want to glance at me for a second. Currently, I have my shoulder that's closest to you dropped. I'm going to lift the arm bone up away from the ground. Okay, see that? The little lift of the armpit up away from the ground. That's the same thing that we were doing in warrior two. Lifting the head of the arm bone. But of course, you're elevating the scapula here. Let's do 2 more breaths. Lift the heels, inhale, look forward. Empty it out, hopper step. Half lift on the inhale. Exhale and bow. Bend the knees. Utkatasana, chair pose. Press the heels out, lift the heart up, and pause. Let's warm up the back muscles. Hips back, push the heels out so your outer hips engage. Heart up, belly up. Activating your back muscles. 3 more breaths. 2 more breaths. One more. Bow, exhale. Half lift, inhale. Step or hop, chaturanga. Up dog or cobra pose. Shoulders go down the back, heart goes up. Exhale, down dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward. Rise, high lunge. Open warrior 2. Inhale, reverse warrior. Side angle pose. All right, so now if you have a block, I'd love for you to have it outside of your shin, maybe even on the highest height perhaps, might be most accessible. You could also use your fingertips on the ground, that's fine. What I'd like you to do is kind of move your shoulder towards your ear a little bit, and then move it back towards the back body, so retract, and then try to rotate the arm and depress at the same time. Rotate and depress the scapula towards your buttocks. So let's spin the arm bone out and depress it towards the buttocks. That's going to form a back bend in your spine. Now we're going to try to rid the body of the back bend while keeping that. So pull your ribs down and turn the chest. Shoulder externally rotates and depresses. So rotate the bicep forward and pull your shoulder blade towards your butt while you activate your abdomen. That's very hard. See if you can do both. Now take the top arm up. Again, shoulder blade, not shoulder, shoulder blade down the back. Push down into your block or your hand. And then release, hands to the ground. Brilliant. Step into plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Now you allow the back bend. Exhale, down dog. Left leg to the sky. Step forward. Rise, high lunge. Warrior 2. Reverse warrior. Side angle pose. Grab your block if you've got it. Now I've got another view of my shoulder that you can see while you're trying it on this side. So first thing, I'm going to go shoulder back. Up towards the ear a little bit and back. Then I use the turning of the arm bone, the external rotation, to depress the scapula. So I create the depression or initiate the depression from rotating outward. I'd like you to do that. Rotate out, depress. Now you'll notice your back will probably form a little bit of a back bend. You're going to pull your ribs back as you turn the pelvis and just form a straight spine more or less, but depressing the scapula while rotating outward. I have a decent amount of weight in the block. I'm pushing down. Really the front leg is fairly light because I'm really trying to access the muscles of the left side here. Okay, take the right arm up to the sky, rotating the arm bone of the bottom arm and depressing it down the back. Go back to observing the fullness as you inhale and see if you can find that lingering. And then your exhale, linger at the bottom. Let's do one more. Linger and then exhale. Both hands to the ground. All right, come to plank pose on the inhale. Chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Shoulders down the back, heart forward. And exhale, downward facing dog. Let's enjoy 3 breaths. Linger at the bottom. Then inhale. Linger at the top. And exhale. Linger at the bottom. Then inhale. Linger at the top. And exhale. Linger. Inhale, lift the heels, look forward. Empty it out. Hop. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bow. Bend the knees, Utkatasana. Hold here as you exhale. Linger when you get to the bottom of the breath. Stillness. Inhale. Linger. Exhale. You can close your eyes. Linger. Inhale. Linger. Exhale. Linger. Inhale, one more lift. And exhale. Halfway lift. Step or hop back, Chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra pose. Exhale, down dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward. Push down, rise, high lunge. Exhale, open warrior two. Reverse warrior, inhale. Side angle. Please grab your block. Outside of the foot. On the highest height probably, or the second highest height. Move your back heel back a little so your toes face forward as you start to straighten through the front leg. Now I want to do the same actions in the shoulder. So I can move the shoulder head back and then rotate the arm bone. And as I'm externally rotating, try to pull your shoulder blade down the back, okay? Still a little lift of the armpit away, so you're not just pressing the head of the arm bone towards your buttocks, but you're actually kind of doing the opposite. You're trying to lift your armpit away from the hips while the shoulder blade is moving towards the hips, okay? So those are in like this dichotomy. They're in this opposite action, and that should create some stability there. Now turn the chest. And as you turn your chest, you're going to feel your shoulder wants to hike up towards your ear. Move your shoulder blade towards your buttocks while externally rotating. Now take the top arm up. And as I take the top arm up, I'm noticing my shoulder blade again is hiking up towards the ear. So I externally rotate and pull the shoulder blade down the back. The more I turn my head, the more I notice my shoulder blade wants to hike up. So I keep pulling it down the back. All right, bend the knee. Step back, down dog. Let's go left side up to the sky. Step forward. Push down, rise, high lunge. Open warrior two. Reverse warrior. Side angle. Grab your block. Okay, back heel goes back a little, toes face in. This block goes back, straightening through the front leg to the best of your ability. Now, we just initiate by moving the shoulder. First, I move the shoulder back. Then I externally rotate and depress scapula towards the buttocks. Now, in opposition, I'm trying to move my armpit forward. So the shoulder blade pulls down my back, armpit moves forward. Now, turn the chest. As you turn your chest, notice if your shoulder starts hiking up towards the ear, keep the shoulder blade down the back. Okay, keeping that. Take the top arm up. Start turning the back of the head towards the ground and your eyes towards the sky. Now, as you turn your head, notice if your shoulder starts hiking up to the ear. Bring your shoulder blade down towards your buttocks. One more breath. And release. Come to plank pose. Place the knees down, all fours. All right, take your forearm to the ground. Right one that is. Come to your outer edge of your right foot and take your left foot in front. Now my suggestion, it's very easy to put pressure on the glenohumeral joint in this posture when you start depressing. So I would rotate the arm externally a little bit, which is going to give you a lot less balance, okay? So it's a bit hard, but you're going to move your shoulder back behind your chest. That's a key point, because if your shoulder's in front of your chest, you're going to feel that pinch in the shoulder, the glenohumeral joint, okay? You move your shoulder behind the chest. Now move the scapula down the back. Best of your ability, take a little shorter stance, so bend the straight leg for a second. Use your front foot to help you lift so you're not all in the shoulder, okay? Shoulder blade down the back, turn your heart and reach up. If you feel any pinch in your bottom shoulder, it's exactly as I've said, you're depressing the shoulder, the head of the humerus in the socket instead of the shoulder blade down the back. And that takes a little bit of time to understand the difference, but don't sit in the pain, okay? Come on down. You don't want that. That'll cause long-term or at least short-term pain, and you don't want to stay there. So you could always just come down, don't force it, take the weight off. And if you continue this practice, and this is part of the thing, is you need to do this over time for your body to understand how to access these muscles. It's not as simple as just bending and straightening the elbow. There's a combination of muscle activations, and that's what makes it hard. And it's something that needs to be practiced over the course of time for your body to understand. Okay, so your arm externally rotate, shoulder rolls back behind you, then draw the shoulder blade down the back. Make sure the shoulder is back behind you. Then use your front foot for support and pushing down to lift up, so you're not all the weight's not all on the shoulder. I also am trying to rotate the arm bone externally by trying to push the hand to the left, okay, like I'm rotating outward, keeping the shoulder back and shoulder blade down the back. Modified side plank. And release. All right, come to stand. Let's go into a wall. And just put your stand sideways to the wall. We'll do side plank at the wall. Your right hand, I suggest typically that the hand is a little bit above shoulder height. Think about the base of your heel of the hand here being in line with the top of your shoulder. So a little bit higher up, just a bit. And then go shoulder up a little and then back. Now here's the key actions today, is rotate the arm bone so the bicep faces up and pull your shoulder blade down your back. And you're going to feel that you're going to want to turn your hand that's on the wall out a little bit, okay? Hopefully if you're rotating enough. And that's okay, you can turn the hand slightly out and that's fine, but do press into the index finger and the index finger, knuckle, and thumb in opposition of the rotation outward. So rotate the arm out and pull your shoulder blade down the back without pressing the head of the arm bone down. So arm bone up and then shoulder blade down. Then we check in with the ribs, pull the ribs down. This is what it takes to do a side plank. It's a much more complicated posture than most of us make it out to be because of the shoulder mechanics. There we are. Side plank at the wall. It's a great place to practice. No need to even ever do it on the ground in order to get these shoulder biomechanics. Okay, let's switch sides. So left hand on the wall. Maybe I'll show you just from the back side. Why not? Okay, so heel of the hand up about shoulder height. Hand is higher a little than shoulder. Go shoulder back behind you. And then once it's back behind you, think shoulder blade goes down, but armpit stays lifted. As if you're trying to pull the wall down. That's how your armpit can lift up while shoulder blade stays lifted. Sorry, shoulder blade goes down. Rotate the arm bone externally. As you rotate, the bicep faces up and the shoulder blade pulls down. Then try to draw your ribs down so that you're just in a straight body. And take the right hand out to the side. Look at your right hand. Pull the left shoulder blade down, keeping the arm bone back. Find your index finger, knuckle, and thumb and grip them into the wall. Keep rotating and drawing the shoulder blade down. All right, and release. So let's see if we can do side plank. Here's how we do it. We set up with a kickstand either in front or in back. I like it in back personally, but you might like it in front, okay? And you draw your shoulder like we were doing Wild Thing. You go shoulder up and back. Now externally rotate and draw your shoulder blade down the back. That should initiate a back bend. But we're not doing a back bend today, so it becomes a bit complicated. Can you draw your shoulder blade down and then slowly knit the ribs? Now your hips are fixed on the ground, so there's only a certain degree that you'll allow, your spine will allow you before you run into compression. So shoulder up, back, rotate, and depress. Hold, then come up and see if you can find your abdominals, pull your ribs down, and stack your feet. Okay, keep rotating the arm bone externally, and then potentially moving your head back. So I'm thinking head of the armpit, the arm bone, head of the arm bone towards my fingers, but shoulder blade down towards my buttocks. Opposite actions. Okay, that might be enough for you. And then release. Let's switch sides. If you find it easy, it probably means you're not doing the actions. It's one thing to do the pose and achieve the shape. It's another thing to understand how to move and activate your muscles. And that's what I'm interested in my practice. Less about the shape. The shape is the result of the body awareness that you get. Okay, more about this physical body, the magnificent beauty of our muscular system, our bones and our joints, and the fact that we have the opportunity to get to know them in this lifetime is why I personally practice asana. Okay, so shoulder goes up, back, and then rotate the arm bone externally and depress the scapula. You'll start with a back bend, and that's okay. Then use your feet to come on up. Then pull your ribs back, which will force you to kind of take the foot off the ground and on top of the other one. Shoulder blade down the back, armpit forward, but shoulder blade towards the buttocks. Ribs down, activating the abdominals. If possible, top arm up. Still rotating the arm externally. Shoulder blade down the back. And release. And that is probably enough of that. All right, so now let's release some of that. So you're gonna thread the needle, take your right arm underneath. Stretch the neck. Let me switch sides. All right, come on up. All right, and come to Uttanasana, forward fold, standing forward fold. Take the hands behind the back, other pinky on the outside from when we started in the beginning. Draw your shoulders a little towards your ears to start, and then retract the shoulder blades toward each other and stretch the arms. Now, once you stretch the arms, draw your shoulder blades towards your buttocks. And let's move back to that observance of the lingering between the breaths. Linger and exhale. Linger and inhale. Linger and exhale. All right, release the hand. Downward facing dog. Take the right shin across the yoga mat. Let's prepare the body for seated positions. Bow to the left. Coming back to our conversation on the emptiness, the stillness that exists within the asana practice of activating muscles, of energizing the physical form, the prana or the flow of energy inside of this physical form, all of this, muscles, the bones, the joints, the movements, the actions we're taking, all of this is Shakti. It's the fullness. The emptiness, on the other hand, is that stillness that lies underneath it all. The ever-present, ever-potent energy that is the nothingness. The eye of the storm. Come on out. Switch sides as you're ready. Pigeon on the left. It's not that emptiness or fullness or one of them is better than the other. It's that they both exist. Much of our intellect has been trained to look at the fullness of the manifest world, the tangible, the obvious, the swirling energy, the chaos. It's not used to looking at the nothingness, the stillness, the emptiness, the space between all of the objects. So all we need to do is just train it to see that a storm cannot exist without the eye. Yes, the fullness of the storm, that whirlwind of energy, literally, is captivating. It is charismatic. It holds our attention. When a storm comes through, we're paying attention to the wind, the destruction, the energy. We're not paying attention to the stillness that exists within it. Same thing in our life. We're so tuned to the outer movement, the fullness of energy, that we miss the stillness within. Come on out. Take your right foot now outside of your right hand. We take a thigh stretch, bend the back knee, opposite hand, opposite foot. The bottom shoulder, by the way, if you want to continue your shoulder practice, it externally rotates and depresses down the back for stability. One more breath. All right, releasing that, let's switch sides. Bend the knee. Even in postures like this, extreme like sensation of stretching takes over the mind. That's the fullness, that's the chaos, that's the external. Stay in tune with it. Don't lose that so you don't get injured, and you still want to be in your human experience. But can you also recognize the stillness that is within? That's the question that Tantra asks of us. It doesn't ask us to disregard our everyday life, the challenges, the highs and lows, but it asks us to experience the whole totality, fullness and the nothingness, the emptiness. Not just take in and eat, but also digest and release. Okay, release the foot. For a seated meditation, I suggest for most of you to sit up on a chair with feet on the ground. You can take a cross-legged seat if you have several blankets to sit your butt up on. I do not, so you can either take Sukhasana with buttocks on blankets, several of them, or Siddhasana, maybe a little less blankets, but still hips up on blankets so both knees are on the ground. And the one that I take, which requires a bit of flexibility in the quads and the ankles, as I put a block under my buttocks for Virasana here. Okay, so you could put blanket under your shins and let your feet hang off of it. That would be easier on the ankle joints and the shin muscles. You could also sit up on 2 blocks to release the knee from having to be so flexed so much in that flexion, which can cause, if you've got any knee issues, could cause a little bit of pain there. Okay, so that's why I suggest just sit up on the edge of a chair. That way you're not so focused on the physical form, because now as we move into meditation, we want to move beyond the physical. We don't want to be distracted by an aching hip, a sleeping leg, or whatever it might be. We want to move to the stillness within, to the emptiness. So the physical body is always going to try to pull us out. The ego is always going to try to pull us out into the periphery. And we're trying to get to the core. So take a posture that you won't have to focus on your body. Again, my suggestion, sitting on a chair with feet on the ground. Let's tip the pelvis slightly forward wherever you are, so your weight is directly at the center of your pelvis between the pubic bone and tailbone. And the low back is in a gentle curve, a gentle arch. Breathe behind the back of your heart so the back of your heart is full. Lift the shoulders slightly up and then move them back to allow the shoulder blades to rest comfortably down your back. Bring your throat and ears back. And now let's continue that pranayama that we began. The focus on the nothingness between the breaths. So between the inhale and the exhale, attempt not to hold the breath, but just simply don't allow the breath to move. So no clenching of your throat muscles or your jaw, just letting the breath stay in that stillness before you move to the next inhale or exhale. A gentle whisper of Ujjayi, we inhale together. And at the top of the inhale, you just let it linger for a moment. And then you exhale the breath out. And at the bottom of the exhale, you let the breath linger for a moment. And then when you're ready, you inhale and continue that pattern. Paying attention to the spaces between the breaths, the stillness between the movement.
If you get lost, just return back. Remember your breath. It's normal that your thoughts, which are the fullness of energy inside of you, the power of Shakti, as it's called, they will captivate your attention. The mind is used to this. It's a pattern. We've developed it since we were young to be enchanted by the movement, the fullness of energy. But equal to that energy exists the stillness. And by training the mind, we can be equally enchanted by the stillness within. And let your breath settle down. And now try and focus your mind on the emptiness, the release into the serenity. The eye of the storm. As soon as the thoughts creep back in, acknowledge them as the fullness and seek to attend and observe the emptiness. The eye of the storm. Visualize yourself at the center. The sounds that surround you, the smells, the energy that surrounds you is all swirling. This is Shakti, the power of the sacred feminine, fullness of energy. Picture yourself as the transcendent void. Picture yourself as the eye. Let the energy that swirls be outside of you, around you, but you right at the center. If you would like, you can transition to Shavasana, or you can continue the meditation practice by staying here, witnessing the swirling energy that surrounds you while you sit at the center in the pure serenity of nothing at all. You can visualize a calm lake in the morning before anybody wakes. The stillness, the peacefulness, the nothingness. The empty serenity of this moment. Be the eye. Wherever you are, come back to your breath. Awaken slowly through your fingers and toes. And stretch the arms overhead. If you're in Shavasana, roll to your side. And come up to a seated position if you're not already. Let's take the palms, give them a nice little rub. build some heat. Place the palms over the eyes. Take a breath. Hands over the heart. I'm going to take a breath. Hands over the belly. Your legs a little massage. And place the palms together in front of the heart. And take this moment to bow into the stillness that exists within us, surrounded by the attraction of motion, of energy, of the flow, of the constant fullness. So while it may be subtle and quiet and silent, it still exists, the stillness within the emptiness, Shunyata. Shiva. Namaste. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Thank you for your practice, for your efforts. Have a beautiful afternoon, beautiful day, evening, wherever you are. If it's evening, then have a great sleep. If you're interested at all in the 300-hour teacher training, which starts September 20th, that's for yoga teachers, please reach out to me directly and let's have a conversation and see if it's the right thing for you. If you're looking to become a yoga teacher, the 200-hour training starts October 1st. We'd also love to chat with you as well. We'll jump on a phone call, arrange a time. So send me an email, theyogimat@gmail.com. Take care of yourself.